scroll back up because every time somebody types something, it jumps down. I guess I made a big deal out of my shirt last time, so I'll do it again. This is Cutthroat Kingdoms, which is a CAD game that's kind of like it's kind of described sort of as a Game of Thrones like game, which I believe it sort of is. It's a CAD game that has sort of area control, but mostly it's about wheeling and dealing with your CADs with other players, and you can totally screw them that way and form alliances and not let people through your territory. It creates a lot of conflict between players and a lot of player interaction, and it's really cool. And it doesn't exist, so I'm doing that thing where I'm pitching you a game that you can't buy right now, but it's coming out eventually. It's coming out. Hopefully, he's going to get it published. And but I played it at board game convention or whatever, and it seems really cool. So I really hope he gets it published because it's a really cool game. Cutthroat Kingdoms, people. My favorite feedback channel. Probably on either the forums, the Steam forums, or the subreddit. Either of those is perfect. The problem, when people do it in like a YouTube video or something like that, that's rough. If it's something that's usually if you post in the forums, other people can see if we answer the solution with a solution, and then otherwise, if it's serious and we need the log, then we'll ask you to email us. That we do have on the forum, we do have certain things that we're like, these are known problems, and if you have this problem, then please send us your log and where they are and stuff like that. So yeah. So let's see, what do we got here? I don't have, actually, you know what? I kind of want to show off some cool things that are being done. I don't know if you guys are aware of cool things that are being done in the community. And I don't even know if I know how to find them. I meant to set this all up beforehand. I'm trying to think. Okay, maybe if I go through my Twitter account, which is like the worst idea ever. That's probably where some of these things are. Oh, and I don't even know if I can get that up. And actually, it'll probably take me forever because my Twitter account. This is poorly prepared. This is probably a bad idea. Let me know. I'm seeing some red and some yellow over with the streaming, and I know that Holly is in the other room trying to do a Skype call. And so if you guys like frames start dropping or the audio starts dropping or something like that, let me know. I wish I could just plug the machine in, but for some reason, and I don't know why, I bought this, which converts Ethernet into USB, and I have one at the Double Fine offices, but for some reason this one isn't working, and I don't know why, and it's annoying me. So let me know if this stream gets unbearable. Let me really quickly see if I can see. Okay, here, let me see if I can figure out how to do this. This is probably bad to try to do things on the fly like this. Window capture? 5? No. I'm trying to see if I can show you guys. Do I have a monitor capture? Wait, if I bring monitor capture up really high. There we go. Hold on. I think we've done it. Hold on. There we go. I figured it out, sort of. Ugh, this isn't working. Hold on. Can I raise you up without doing too much stuff? There we go. So check this out. I mean to post on the on YouTube, and I don't really know how to do that yet. Some people are saying that the best way to do it is to just post a video, like a short video, just being like, "Hey guys, I'm on Twitch," and that seems kind of cuckoo. The only other way to do it, I know I can link the accounts, but they'd have to be watching one of my videos at the same time I went live, I think. So I don't know. I don't know how best to notify YouTube people. Are you able to make the game harder while playing? If you play poorly, you can do that. Or if you just leave some of your upgrades behind, you can do that. But right now we have the difficulty settings so that you have to do it from the main menu or something like that. We're trying to avoid you like messing with the game in the middle of it because that can screw things up. But yeah, there is a harder difficulty setting. We made easier difficulty settings for a lot of things. We also made harder. So here, let me see if I can prepare. All right, I'm not going to prepare things. All right, I'm just going to start. basically, I just want to show you guys some cool stuff that the community is doing right now. Um, and this is really cool. This is D Prime. What he did was he asked us for the models to all the individual drones because what he wants to do is 3D print them and then put RC components in and drive them around, which I thought was really, really cool. And so he first 3D printed them small, so we gave him the models, and he actually probably touched them up a little bit because I don't know if they're perfect for 3D printing. And so these are them at small size, and I think it would be super cool to print these out, paint them, and put them on my desk. That would make me happy. Which is really funny because a lot of time when you're playing the game, all you guys see is the overlay. And then underneath the overlay is the actual model. And so what we're going to do someday when we have time is add glitches in so that like that overlay kind of wigs out and you can kind of see that thing underneath and maybe make them disappear, you know, like flicker off. And then you're driving around and you can kind of see behind that because a lot of players, I think, don't even realize that like these are just overlays that the computer is putting on top of things and stuff like that. So yeah, let me just see real quick. You've been embellishing the ambient sounds using tabletop audios. Starship sound work great while streaming. That might be something I could look into. Oh, yeah, so you did. So, Dynaze, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right. You had a really cool idea that I like, because we have the ability right now to make custom ships, derelicts, and that's the nursery. When you first play the game, the first 4 ships that are super easy, we've like handcrafted those so that, you know, there's a defense and a terminal. And when you get there, you can scan that thing, see that there's a defense, turn it on, kill the thing. Not everybody does it that way, but you know, we've kind of preset them up. So we have made an editor so that you can make a ship. And we thought it would be cool if you could design a ship, attach a log to it, and then put it in someone else's universe. But I like the idea that Dynaze had that might be even better, which would be to then also specify how many drones they get and how many upgrades, and instead of just placing it in their universe, which I do think is cool, make it literally like a challenge mode, where like, here, I have created a derelict, I give you 3 drones, one of them has a generator, one of them has a, you know, one of them has a pry, and one of them has a whatever, and like, you've got to get through this ship now. Though, technically, I don't know how you'd say you got to get through this ship, because the way the game works is generally you should be able to abandon any ship when you need to. But I guess you could make a series of ships or something like that. Maybe. I don't know. This is all this is all that stuff where everybody on the team is like, Tim, don't go on Twitch and just start talking about all these really crazy ideas that you have, and then people will expect us to do them. A lot of this depends on how good you guys are evangelizing, and if we can get, you know, enough sales that we can keep making more stuff and add it to the game. Not to put any pressure, but you know, yeah, you can kind of see them when you redock. Actually, what we're also gonna do is we're gonna do. I don't know if you guys know Jill. Jillian Ogle, who was originally the artist on Duskers before Brendan took over, and she does this Let's Robot stuff. So we're going to do a Duskers-themed Halloween special in real life, Twitch-controlled robots that are the Duskers, and we're hopefully going to have the overhead cam, and we're going to set up some black lights and stuff, hopefully. I don't know exactly how it'll all work, but hopefully it'll be good. I'm seeing red over here. Is this stream dying right now? Are we doing okay? You guys just let me know if things start dropping. I'll just look in the chat every now and then, and I'm going to ignore the colors of my internet right now. So yeah, and then to waste more time, let me see if I can find, there was something else really cool a while back, so bear with me as I scroll through. Someone made a Duskers watch face for the Android watches, and it's really cool because it's like a drone. Here it is. Hold on. Does this play the animated GIF? I clicked play. Oh, there it goes. So I don't know if you guys can see that. I think you can see that, but basically, like it ticks around on the time. He was saying that the YouTube video is better. So let me see if I can click on this. We can see something better. Right. Can you guys see that? Right. So this is so it like ticks, tick, 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 and that's like the Dusker moving. And I do not have a. I like that, like how when it goes on and off, you can kind of see the faded. You can kind of see the faded drone come in and out or whatever. And that's obviously he's recorded him driving, because you can see like things moving in the background. I don't know. I'm a nerd, but I just thought that was absolutely really cool. And I don't have an Android watch, but if you guys do, then that's out there. And thank you for that, Vamprism. Vampzim. So that was really cool. And then last but not least, D Prime's also done some artwork. Actually, if I could go to the Steam forums. Is this it? This might be a virus name Tom. Okay, that's a virus name Tom. Hold on. No, store. Duskers. Yeah, that thing. Oh, look, I already have it. Sweet. Whoa. Hey, look at that. 140 reviews, 97% positive. Thank you guys for that. That's pretty awesome to see. What was I doing? Oh, Community Hub. If you just go to the Community Hub, and then the artwork, I think some of this stuff is pretty cool. This is the this is the brute coming at you through D13. I like this one where he's like checking out the map and like the swarm's coming up behind him and stuff like that. Anyway, this stuff kind of is super fun for me to see. It's super fun because I like create all this stuff and throw it at you guys, and it's really cool to see you guys create stuff and throw it back at me. So anyway, I just kind of want to show that stuff because I thought it was cool. And now, how do I turn this off? Like that? Bam! Done. Alright. And then, okay, so we're back. Right. Alright, so, here's the game. I didn't really have a theme for today because we don't have a launch. Actually, one thing I'd like to ask you guys, I don't know if this even makes any sense or not, but right now, we were originally doing updates every month. And then when we launched, we were crazy because we were like, oh my god, we want to fix all these things because people were really upset with some of the balancing. And so we were pushing out more frequently. And it seems to me that no matter what in our process, if we take longer to push out, then we have less time where we're wasting like QAing and we can get more development done. But then the builds become very precious because people are going to be sitting on that for a month. Or we could push them out more rapidly, in which case, like if there was a bug in one, we could say, hey, just wait till the next update, we'll get that in there. But then the problem is that, like, more frequently we're, having to deal with pushing things out and QAing and stuff like that. So I have no idea if you guys have any opinion on that. Thank you for that, Death Ranger. Yes, support these devs. Yeah, just so that you know, I don't know about sales. We didn't launch with a sale because I figured that everybody, and I totally appreciate that. That's totally fine if you guys want to buy on sale, or if you don't have money or anything like that. Don't worry about it. I know $20 is kind of a high price point for an indie game on Steam, but I don't think that we're gonna do sales. It's just too complicated, and not only that, but then I feel really weird with all the people that did buck up $20, and then like a week later, I'm like, oh hey, guess what? It's on sale now, and I know you can return it and then buy it again on sale or whatever. And I don't hold me to this, but I'm pretty sure we're just not going to put it on sale before we launch. We might not even do a launch sale. I don't know. We didn't do it when we did the early access, and it felt really good because I felt like nobody in the forums was. Just there because there was some launch discount and then they didn't like the game or whatever. I feel like right now we're in this honeymoon phase in our forums where we get really good feedback and we have a really cool community. And I think part of that is because I'm not trying to convince anybody to buy the game necessarily. I'm just letting people decide for themselves, and not trying to do sales or trying to do, really weird promotions or anything like that. And it's working, or at least I'm happy with it. We obviously could be, more comfortable. We did borrow a bit of money from Indie Fund to make this game, so we've got a little mountain to climb to get to the point where we can, be more self-sustaining. But anyway, that was a big long rant to basically say that that the game might not go on sale for a while, just so that you guys know. Yeah, thank you. Oh, 0.28 changelog. Sorry, the thank you is to the people that are here supporting me, not necessarily putting the game on sale immediately. Anyway, so 0.28 changelog. So we've been working since we launched the Game of Drones update, and we might push something out actually a little sooner than I thought, because I kind of wanted to put a little Halloween thing together because I'm a dork. Just a little, not big. But we had fun with that with a virus named Tom when we did like a little Christmas thing. That was a lot more involved. Do not expect that. But just little things that we can chuck in. So that might be an excuse to just update the game while we're doing it, right? So spaces and other characters and drone names. Oh, are we only allowing you to do alphanumeric characters? I don't actually even know yet. Microtransactions. That's right. You want that shield? Give us 50 cents. So here, hold on. Let me see. I actually, right before I went live, and that's why I'm so discombobulated right now. See me making excuses. I made a small list of things that you guys might actually care about. I think there's lots of cool stuff in the game, and you guys probably care about a lot of stuff too. So I don't know if I'm giving you guys enough credit. But here are some things that are a little bit sexier. Oh, I'm not sure about this one, but you guys might dig this. Stats. So here, days survived, 28. My best is 28. I mean, obviously I clear my data a lot. How many derelicts you've visited and systems you've been to and enemies killed. Yeah, it is fun to see that stuff, and I know that when I used to play FTL, like to see that I had beaten my longest days and stuff like that was really cool. My only issues with this, and I'm just gonna be okay. All right, so you guys like it. Jeremy actually threw these in, so you guys can give Jeremy some love, because this is something we've been talking about for a long time. And what happens, and maybe you guys like this, is after we launch a build, I kind of make Jeremy sit on his hands for a little while, because if there's a big problem with the build, we've got to fix it. And so he just starts kind of doing random things that we don't think are gonna affect the game too much if we have to push a patch. And so this is one of the things that he threw in. So yeah, I do want the drone graveyard. This is a step toward that, and I want the memorial, and I want to have like your drone name and then how they died and stuff like that. But yeah, so one thing that I don't know about, and this is really weird, and I'm just gonna, in these things, sometimes I'm gonna just be, I don't know if it's a good idea. Sometimes as a designer, you don't want to just say everything, but whatever. I've done pretty damn naked development so far. So enemies killed stats. The only problem I have here is nowhere in the game do we ever name the enemies. And I kind of enjoy that because I like reading the forums sometimes and having people having weird names for them and stuff like that. So I feel like no matter what, when you have a stats screen, it starts to make a game seem gamey. And so I don't mind it, and it's outside of the fiction because maybe we only allow you access to this at certain points or something like that. But then, to have the enemies' names here kind of like defines them more, and I don't know, there's a thing there. We also have more stats. So here's, and again, I just cleared my data, and so this is like how much you use different things. I could do classes. I was thinking about with infestations saying type A, B, C, D, and then you would kind of get to know what those things were. So I thought that would be kind of fun maybe, but that is cool. So the only problem I have with this one, I think this is really cool too, and this could show you like, oh man, I always use motion and generator or whatever. Maybe that would entice people to try to use some of the other upgrades more often. I think what this will also do is cause people to complain more and be like, dude, Like you can see from my numbers, I never use probe, and it's a stupid thing. But maybe that's good too. Maybe we don't collect any data from you guys. We were going to put analytics in or metrics in, but there's just so much to do, and we're such a small team. I was like, you know what, honestly, to put those in is going to take, an extra week, and then to analyze them is going to take more time. And a lot of times on a virus named Tom, I just use the community and my gut to make a lot of decisions, be it right or wrong. So we didn't end up doing that so much. So there's also, so it might be the players can use these stats and just tell me about them and be like, you know what, I never use this and I never use that. And maybe eventually we could add in some metrics so that we could collect this data and even put it up on the Steam stats stuff. I don't know if you can, I haven't done Steam stats stuff in a while. I don't know if I can expose that to you guys, but it'd be pretty cool. And then ship upgrades and stuff like that, like, what you use the most. I mean, I'm pretty sure you guys would know what you guys use the most and stuff like that, but eventually this is the beginning, so we could start adding in cooler and cooler stuff. And we could kind of do it in fiction, because it makes sense that if you guys are on, this mission or whatever you're doing, that like things would be being tracked and stuff like that. So it kind of makes sense. I think this is the most fun, and I think that this is something that we could bring up, we could have this as an option when we bring up the, when your run comes to an end. And we could definitely show best current in total for, whatever. I did like in FTL how it showed like different runs and the names of the ships so that you could remember those runs. So maybe we can do something like that. Probes do rock, actually. Yeah, things cleared and harvested, yeah. That's true. Maybe we leave the kills out, because it's like, at the end of the day, I do feel that that's one of the stupidest things about games. Like, it's like, oh, I've killed like 2,000 of whatever, right? And the game is a lot of times not about killing enemies. The game is about avoiding enemies. So, yeah, maybe the kills doesn't make as much sense there. By the way, Pry comes always as yellow, and Sonic comes with 0 HP. So, I don't know what those mean, but I think what you mean by that is that, sometimes when you buy things at a trading post, and this is a part of the game that I asked to be put in and I forgot about, and it trolled me, and I love it. But when you go and buy things at a trading post, sometimes, okay, let's see if we can find it. Is there a trading post here? An auto trader. There we go. All right, let's go there. Okay, so this is a perfect example. So sometimes when you go to buy things, like this probe, right? It's got 4 probes in it. Perfect, right? So you buy it and you assume it's brand new. Oh, we also added on this screen the breaking probability, which maybe we should add some to this because everything's brand new here, but whatever. But what I really love is that whole, like, they fuck you at the drive-thru thing. I don't know if you guys are Lethal Weapon fans. So right here with this Sonic, it happens to have 0 charge on it. So you'll bring that down, and then you'll be like, oh, that stupid auto trader. It's like batteries not included, right? It's just like, ah. And then sometimes it is, and sometimes I don't pay attention to it, and I think that's the funniest thing. Like, if you get a probe and it doesn't have any probes in it, and like you bought it, and you weren't thinking about it, and I don't know. I think that's really funny, but I'm kind of a horrible person. Yeah. They survive leaderboards. Yeah, this is leading toward leaderboards. The problem with leaderboards is that everybody hacks them all the time, and it's such a pain in the butt to make sure that they're secure and all that stuff. Now, what we did on a virus named Tom a lot of times is we just go through and it'd be obvious the ones that were bullshit, and so we would just clear them out. And we usually knew, because we knew the community so well, we knew the people that were doing better, and so it was easier than to us to write all these algorithms to just go through by hand and just be like deleted. But it's kind of a pain. But we will do that. We will add leaderboards. Hopefully. I'm not going to promise anything on this stream. I think probes are really underrated. I think that they're very, very powerful. There is a problem of losing them rather quickly. But you can, increase the probability of them not going into dangerous rooms with the whole scanning thing if you have other upgrades, or if you need to, you can use them to scout rooms to see if they're safe. So they kind of double as an exploration and a scanner, but they're nerfed enough that like the scanner can be pretty powerful on its own and stuff like that. Yeah. So yeah, enemies sucked into space. Yeah, there'll probably be a lot of those. Ship upgrades don't show as broken on the trader. Yeah, so now they do. So this doesn't show it, but we fixed that. So now your ship upgrades on the auto trader, they will show their state. So like yellow or red if they're broken or whatever. And we also, we did something else with them recently. I can't remember. Oh, we've changed the order of them. We're getting really kind of nerdy, but you guys, you know, the 25 people that have shown up right now, they probably know a little bit about Duskers, and they're okay with getting into the nitty-gritty. So check this out. The modifications now, before the upgrades, again, this is a kind of a BS playthrough. I don't have a lot in here right now, but it used to be that we would have them in order found, and now we've reordered them to be the order on the drones. So like, for example, the drones, see how it's like motion, then interface, then gather, then tow? Motion, then interface, then gather, then tow. So this is kind of like your mental mapping. A lot of people think about these upgrades as like, this is on drone 1, this is on drone 2, and that's like how they think of them. So we reordered them like that, and then on the bottom here, with the rest of them, it will be the order in your inventory. So that'll be a little bit more mentally consistent for people. I don't know. I think that some people will really like that. I kind of don't know. Hard mode auto trader. Yeah, yeah, eats your money and then it gets stuck. I totally think that would be super funny. I know that as soon as I put that in, like the forum would explode with someone that rage quitted because they had spent their last bit of scrap to get like, I don't know, some upgrade, and then it didn't actually give it to them. And then I get all these, if I see RNG in the post, I know I'm in trouble. Let's see. Long-range scanners, what are they for and how do they work? Long-range scanners, I don't have one right now. So see what I can see right now? Or this is a really bad example. Hold on. I'm a dirty, dirty cheater. What? Wait, I don't have any upgrade slots? Oh, I've just been like testing. All right. I've just been testing, so I just like commandeer random vessels, and I apparently commandeered a vessel that doesn't have a single upgrade slot. So even though I just cheated to get a long-range scanner, I can't install it. That's hilarious. Hold on. How hard is this? 184 stable military. Let's see if we can find a ship that we're pretty sure will have a slot. Something that's not too big. Well, I mean, big is more likely to have slots, but I just don't want to deal with it. Hold on, I'm gonna cheat. Cheating. This doesn't have that. Okay. All right, so let me just explain to you. So see how this circle right here lets you see, this would only let you see here, and this would all be black. And when you get a long-range scanner, the circle will be much bigger and it'll let you see more things. In the original game, yes, tech ships are the best for getting that kind of stuff. In the original game, back in the day, I used to create systems that would be like this. There would be a huge gap, and then there'd be some stuff over here. And when you got the long-range scanner, it would reveal new stuff that you could go explore, and I thought that was really, really cool. But due to the random generation and a few other factors, I stopped doing that. So I'm not saying we won't put that back in the game, but the long-range scanner, because you can go and you can hit space and you can observe these things, having a long-range scanner gives you a lot of info about the current galaxy. And eventually, right now we have these objectives, but they're going to get better. And eventually when you have things that you're looking for, like, oh, I'm really looking for a military outpost or whatever, then you can, you know, look at things a lot faster and see that there is not any military outpost in this galaxy. So like you would know that right then, and so you might be like, all right, I'm going to jump through this Stargate and like go to another galaxy and see if I can find it then. So that's really cool. Yeah. Let's see. Sorry. I'm sorry. The chat scrolled, so if I miss some things, I miss some things. Because when I start falling behind on the chat, it just gets to be bad. Okay, so we also fixed that. It does suck when you commandeer a ship and you forget to pick up a probe and you don't get it back. Now that's fixed. So we are definitely listening to you guys. So I'm really glad that you guys happen to be griping about the things that we've already done. So now I can be like, oh, well, that's going to be in version 0.28. Vacuum cleaner mod to keep your ship clean. That's a good idea. I would prefer that the older used modules only fail on per mission basis according to the fail probability. That's what they do. I guess I'm confused by that statement. Some way to clear debris in small corridors. So check this out. I've thought about that, and because the trap you can remotely detonate, I think it'd be really cool if the trap did damage to obstructing obstacles. I also think it would be really cool if when you go over debris, like we jiggle the camera a little bit, or not the camera, the light, the sensor, so like you can see the model underneath jostling and the scan area changing. But how about that? If you run into a problem area, you can use a trap to blow it, right? Whether it be a down drone that's in your way or some of those like cargo containers and stuff like that. And again, that just gives the trap another use, right? So let me know what you think of that. Yeah. When you commandeer a vessel with no slots by accident, or you're just a brain fart, that really sucks. We're also going to make it so that, and this isn't probably going to be in version 0.28, it's probably going to be in the version after, but we're going to make it so that ships have permanent upgrades. And that's based on the class type of ship. So something like a military ship. Not to give things away, but maybe there's like this offensive kind of weapon on it, and that's not always on that ship, but sometimes it is, and it's a permanent upgrade. So if you commandeer another vessel, you have to leave that one behind, and it will also break over time, so that we're gonna force you guys to commandeer more vessels, because the commandeering is fun, but right now it's just ship slots. So we're adding to that right now. We're working on it. Oh, speaking of which, see this. Really subtle down here, if you guys are looking, scrap 37 out of 999. So just so that you know, the days of infinite scrap are coming to an end, and scrap is going to be another attribute on a ship. So, hey, you know what? I'm going to totally get a salvage ship or a barge because I can hold more scrap. Versus, oh, I'm going to get this private ship, which has also, or tech ship, which has lots of cool stuff about it, but it doesn't have as high a scrap capacity. So things to think about. That's all coming down the line. So hopefully that'll add a lot to the mid game, not make it more difficult on early players. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make the game more difficult, not more difficult as you go on, but like I don't like the idea of, the treadmilling, where it's like I'm better, so I killed this thing that's really hard and I get the better sword and now the game is easier, or the game just scales with me. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make it a little bit more organic, where there are easy pockets and hard pockets, and that makes every run really feel different. But if we make the ship maintenance a part of the game, then hopefully that won't affect new players, and so we're not making the game harder on them, but we're making it a little bit harder on players that are going on longer runs, which I think is cool because it adds another dimension to the game that maybe new players also don't have to worry about as much, because we start you off with a ship that, you know, is in fairly good condition, and you know, you don't have to, and the other thing is that I know that people like with drones that you can switch things out. Like, it's really cool when your drone dies and you can go get the parts out and then have a new generator drone essentially. But you know, we do want to make them a little bit unique, and so one of the things that we're going to do is have permanent upgrades on drones as well, so that drone feels almost like a class in a way. not making it so that that defines the drone completely, because its upgrades will really define it, but that'll be just one more reason why you're like, I really don't want to lose that drone, or now this drone is definitely going to be my generator drone because it has this upgrade on it. So I'm sorry, I missed a whole lot of comments, so if I miss your question or something like that, just post it again. Oh, and also, yeah, so in addition to those changes, the ship upgrades, which right now are just like forever young, are now finally going to start taking damage and break. They do break right now, but it's like really hard to get to that point. But we're going to make them do that much more often. So that's another thing. And see how you have like infinite slots here almost? We're going to also regulate on that. We're going to make it so that you have less slots, and that will also vary per ship type. And see this, how it's always the same icon? Here, these will also vary based on the size of the ship. We just made a bunch of those. Actually, I could show you guys that if you guys want to see them. I think I pulled that up recently. Oops, that ain't it. Is that it? Okay, here, hold on. Let me see if I can do this. I'm not a ninja at this stuff, so bear with me. Monitor? Yes. Okay, let me see if I can do this. Whoop. Like that. Okay, so here's a quick sneak peek at some of these things. What we were trying to do, Brendan just made these, so I've barely even looked at them, but what we're trying to do is make it so that they not only have like a unique silhouette, so you're like, oh, I'm gonna board a barge, or I'm now flying a barge because I commandeered a barge, but then also make it so that the different classes like C, A, and B like look different. Because if we just simply scaled them, and actually if you look at some of these, some of them are more obvious than others. Like the space station, it's very obvious by the silhouette that like whether it's an A, B, C, or D. And then if you can look at some of these things, like this barge, it has more sections in the middle, and then this military thing, like you can see how there's an extra bubble here and stuff like that. So we're trying to do stuff like that, where this looks distinct from this. This looks a little bit closer to this, so we might be able to do this one. These two, I feel, might be the most egregious of like looking like they're just bigger versions of each other, because when you can't see them compared to each other and you just see it, I mean, there will be class A, B, C underneath it, but we want to make them look unique if we can. See, this one looks a little bit more unique. Anyway, so we'll get there. What's also really funny is these ship types, I just totally, and this is what's really funny, when you're developing a video game as an independent game developer, like almost everything is just by the seat of your pants, fast, because it takes so long to do everything. You're just like, I don't have time. We don't have enough audio in the game. We just got to get these things done. So all these names of like space station, tech, salvage, private, barge, military, they were just made up like really quickly. So we might revisit these. Just everybody's chagrin. Also, like Jeremy named some of the outposts, and some of them are just really funny. Like there's a rebel outpost right now. which is kind of hilarious, but like I feel like it kind of breaks the fiction. Like people will be in the game and be like, maybe it's funny, but maybe it's just like, what? You know, I'm playing a video game. Okay, I missed a bunch of you guys' stuff, so let me get back to it real quick. Are you gonna stop people using memory editor to get infinite scrap or to change their stats? Yeah, we'll do that. I think that the memory editor is really cool. I think that the fact that people can use that and have fun with the game and enjoy that is really cool. But as soon as we have leaderboards and stuff like that, obviously we don't want people doing that, and that's when we have to kind of put the kibosh on that, which is kind of a bummer, because I like people being able to do what they want to do. But it could be that we can just, you know, it might be that we can still allow people to do that kind of stuff. It's just that we, you know, do a simple vetting. Like we add like, you know, some kind of checksum plus some random number or something like that to the file so that we can tell if it's been tampered with. You know, just simple things like that we might be able to do. But again, it's hoops that we have to jump through, and it's like we're trying to prevent cheaters rather than adding cool new stuff to the game. So, I don't know. There's like a trade-off there, right? Tech A is the best you can board, definitely right now. Well, not definitely right now, but if you want to commandeer a ship, because they're more likely to have ship upgrades. But that's what I'm saying. So that's really cool. But eventually you might be like, I really like the permanent upgrades on military vessels. So even though they might not have as many slots, I might like that better. Or, you know, we're obviously going to maybe balance it out by maybe making the tech ships hold a lot less scrap. So it's like, okay, I can have a lot of ship upgrades, but I can't house a lot of extra stuff, and I can't have a lot of scrap, like, so that it's harder for me to, you know, constantly repair things and do that aspect of the game. You know, that whole balancing video game thing that we try to do. More starting variety would be really nice. I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that. So I do agree that more starting variety from the sense of we could start you with different permanent ship upgrades, or we could start you with different upgrades. Right now we do start you with different upgrades, but there's only so much variety because we want to make sure you have a generator, a tow, and a gatherer. Like those are like the core upgrades we want to make sure you have. So there's only 2 upgrade slots that you get that are kind of random. So I understand what you're saying. Now, the system that you start in is obviously always going to be different. But there have been people that have recommended things like, oh, at a certain point you can unlock a new ship that you start with or whatever. But that's why this whole game is about being dynamic. And so the dynamic is that like you constantly get new ships instead of being like FTL where you start with a new ship and then you play with that and then you get bored with that run, so then you try a different type of ship. The hope is that in this game we just do that on a different level where you start with the same ship, this basic ship, and then which way you go with that when you commandeer as the run goes on. And that does make it so that the start does seem similar each time, I guess, but I don't know, that's kind of like a trade-off. So there might be stuff that we can do to mitigate the start being too similar. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. So that's another thing. So the random text at the beginning, like what kind of ship this is and stuff, I think it's really cool when it's generated. Like it's like a prison ship that also has like something in the cargo or in the hold. It can be interesting, but yeah, we don't have a lot of variety in that. So there's probably only like, you know, 5 to 10 types or whatever. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of prison ships, but it might make sense that you would send prisoners out into space to work at outposts and stuff like that. I don't know. It's yeah. Oh. There is a backstory to the player you play, and who you are is a big part of the game. Is about figuring that out. But I don't want to be too artsy-fartsy about it, but I don't know that there is going to be a definitive answer of that for anyone. I think we've had a lot of ideas. If you look back at our story videos that I've posted on YouTube, and I'm going to post a new one pretty soon, we've had a lot of ideas about like how this backstory could be. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to play with some of those, with some of the logs, to give different ideas of if those certain things would be possible or not. Because it really is an interesting thing, like justifying why. I kind of like the idea of justifying the roguelike nature of the game. I know it's kind of silly because it's like it's easy to just say, okay, I just restart, but it's cool in the fiction if I justify that. And so there are a lot of different ways I've thought about doing that, and it might have slowed down the story too much that I worry too much about how all ththese connections are made and how all this fits into some giant puzzle piece. So maybe I do that too much, but yeah, there is definitely story. Yeah, exactly. Let them keep using the memory editor, but just don't allow them to post to the leaderboard. Well, the status tells me the ship holds 90 plus items of stuff flies. Oh, yeah, in the hold, if it says it has 90 plus items, that might not be scrap. But yeah, that's true. We might have to adjust that. So this is an interesting question. From my point of view, the game cries out loud, sandbox. Why even bother with single-player elements like the logs? So the reason why is partially because I am a storyteller, or I think of myself as a storyteller, and I love that kind of stuff. And the other part of that is that when I pitched the game to Indie Fund and all the awesome people that invested in me, one of the things that I pitched was the atmosphere of the game, and that atmosphere I think we've been achieving with the look of the game and the lack of music and the grittiness of it, and we need much more audio. But another thing that I pitched was that story, and I feel that I know in particular there is an investor or two that that's what they kind of bought in on is that story, and I don't know if I can make them their money back. I don't know if I can make them a profit on this game. I have no idea, but I know what I can do is I can kind of, and this sounds silly, but it's a lot like, when you have backers and you want to make sure that, it's like these are people that sort of invested in me and allowed me to make this game, and so I want to make sure that I follow through on that. Not that I think if I told them, you know what, I don't think this game needs a story, and I walked away from that they would be that upset, but I just kind of feel like that's sort of like a pact that I made. But that being said, I also think we have the opportunity to do something unique, and I think this game is a weird game. And as soon as I put the command line interface in this game, I feel like it freed me to do whatever I wanted because I felt like that's the most ridiculous thing I could have done. It turns out you guys like that, so that's really good. But it was really freeing. I felt like the analogy I always make is that I had already stolen the car. Like, why not speed at this point? And so one thing in roguelikes I find is roguelikes, and my game isn't technically a roguelike. It's a roguelite. Procedurally generated and handcrafted story like butt heads with each other, right? And I mean that makes sense, right? And I think handcrafted stories are great, and I think that not having a handcrafted story and having a player story is great. So why force those two together? And I think what we can do, and this is what we've been doing in the story, initially with the story, we were just going to have it be super loose, be environmental storytelling, like Gone Home or something like that, where you just find logs and it just tells you about the universe. But then it quickly became apparent that when people were playing, they were so invested in this world that they wanted to find out about it, and not just in these side logs, but they wanted something to do. And so that's when we came up with the objectives. It was like, like it's really interesting to try to scan an entire space station, so like let's work that into like this whole nanotech thing, right? But we're finding now that we've been doing that it's forcing the player too much down these funnels, and it feels too hand-holdy. So now we're trying to back out of that. So now what we're trying to do, and I don't know if this is a good idea or not, is we're going to start you with stronger objectives to kind of lead you down that path, and then we're going to open it up. So that there might be like an A to B correlation, like, oh, you need to get this password before you access this part of a database on something, right? But then from there to open it up so that it can be just logs, or that it can be that maybe it's not A to B to C to D, it's like there's a bunch of A's, they kind of lead together to this part B, and then over here is another part A that leads to this part B, and they're connected through story, but they're not connected through like gated non-entry points, if that makes any sense. So imagine if one of the theories behind why everybody's dead is like nanobots, right? Like gray goo, if you guys have heard of that, or the singularity, like an AI, or a pandemic. Let's just take pandemic. So if you find this, log from the scientist that's talking about like trying to find a cure, there might be like an A to B correlation where like he went to a certain space station, then you got to find that space station. That's like that gated content, if you will. Or maybe there's a password that he's left and he's locked a ship that he was doing research, and so you got to find that password, right? You need the key and the gate, right? But then there might be other parts of that story that you can find parallel to that first part that aren't gated, or you can find other instances of this pandemic referenced that have their own little side plots. So it's like there's a lot of pieces that are intermingled. But to go back to the original question, why I do it is because I love telling stories, I love the atmosphere of the game, and I think that when you're playing the sandbox version of the game, you don't need to invest in the story at all. You can totally play as much as you want and never care about the world or read a single log, because I don't want to prevent you from doing that. However, if you are playing and you're getting into the game and you really like it, and then you read some logs and you think that they're interesting, then that adds another dimension to the game. Now it's like, oh, you know what, I've never really wondered about like why the world is this way, or why I'm the only person, or why all these drones are around in these ships, and stuff like that. So I think that if anything, it adds a dimension to the game. I will admit that I don't know if the value of it when I'm done with it will be worth the amount of effort that I'm putting into it, and I could have just put into the gameplay mechanics. That's really hard. It's kind of like saying, how much audio is too much, or how much do we need to tweak the visuals and stuff like that. So that was a long explanation for that. Will there be a way to uncorrupt your logs later? I did hear someone say something about that, and I think it's a really cool idea. So what we do is we write the full log, and then we have spans of it that get corrupted. And so that would be something that we could do, where we could reveal the full log. I don't know exactly. There are a couple issues with that. I don't know exactly how we would do it, but that seems like a really cool idea. I also have the idea of maybe encrypted military or corporate logs that you would find that would be very encrypted, and that later on you could, find the encryption algorithms that would allow you to decrypt them, and then that might further a storyline or something like that. Where did all the people go? Where are all the bodies? That is part of the question, and that's something that we try to answer in the game. That's why the theories are what they are, right? Like, if there were no bodies, could that be nanotechnology, that they consumed organic matter? Could it be that there was some kind of really crazy cosmic event that we don't understand? Could there have been some kind of military weapon that focused on organics? Could it be that there was a singularity and maybe there was nanotech and maybe an AI is the one that triggered that? Like, these are all kind of interesting questions. We're also talking about making it interesting. I think it's really interesting if humanity came to an end I don't want to give too much away, but somewhat quickly, rather than over the course of years. What if it was over the course of days? Because if you read some existential risk kind of scenarios, like, things could turn south very quickly, which is kind of mind-boggling, which is kind of exciting. I should watch this shinification of Fallout. Oh, I think I've seen this. This is really good. I have seen this. That's a really good video. And I'm going to watch it again because it's entertaining. And I think that talks about, I think that talks a little bit about Fallout New Vegas, right? And how they show the crops and how you can eat, like, that it feels like a real world because they took that attention to detail in that video, I think. And that's the kind of stuff that, again, as an indie dev, I want to put in. I want to have this backstory about, like, how this world came to be, and if we became spacefaring, how would that affect society? And it's in my vision that we're spacefaring now, but we haven't been spacefaring for too long. But obviously we developed this technology that allowed us to jump from gate to gate, which is a big deal. And actually Ben Hill, who is helping me with the story stuff, that's something that he's like, we haven't even addressed this. So he's actually, this weekend, going to try to crack that nut a little bit and start talking about that. Distress beacons could be a thing. The problem we have to be careful about is doing too much one-off stuff for each story element, because the more we do that, the more we're coding in specific stuff, the more it's taking up a lot of time. So I'm trying to balance that a little bit by making it a little bit more organic. I also don't like the idea that, like, if there is a specific event that happens, and then you need to explore that ship, what if the player isn't able to explore that ship? Do you just cut that off for them forever? So that's what I'm trying to do with the roguelike nature of the game, is embed this stuff into the procedural nature of the ships. So instead of being like a handcrafted ship, it's just a procedurally generated ship that happens to have something aboard it. But there are other ships. Like, you'll notice how in any of the objectives, it's never like go to this exact ship and do this exact thing. It's always like find a research outpost and scan a really old derelict, like that kind of stuff. That, like, you don't know where you're going to find these things. So it works with the procedural generation of the game. But yeah. How big are the drones? That is a really good question. I always pictured the drones. Because if you look at most hallways, the narrowest hallway we have are sort of like these two square tiles wide. And I figured that should be, like, enough for people to pass by each other. So I'm assuming that a drone is probably, about maybe 2 feet by 2 feet, like, fits within that, and maybe, like, 3 feet tall or something like that, somewhere in that range, I would guess. But yeah. I I actually did have in the original version of the game. I had you were a scavenger and you were kind of like a tomb raider in a way. Like you were boarding these derelicts to get loot, and that there could be other scavenger vessels, Duskers as I called them at the time, the other Duskers that would try to board on your ship, and there would be kind of like a order of operations, like a ranking of you with other Duskers, and you're supposed to back off if it's like a higher level, or you could contest them. But obviously, that's really that's really hard to do from like an AI perspective. It'd be really cool if it was multiplayer, but you know, again, um, are you 37? I happen. It's your birthday and you're 37. I happen to be 37 as well. So, looks like I'm making myself my target demographic, which is really cool. Deepening the console interactivity with interfaces on ships, unlocking doors, etc. Yes. So I do want to have locked doors. I do want to make you be able to unlock them. However, I have to be very careful not to make the interface upgrade overpowered. And I've debated at times making it so that any drone can interface, so that it's not necessarily the interface upgrade that's overpowered. It's just about whether terminals are there or not. I flip-flop on that all the time. I do the same thing with the generator and the gatherer, like whether or not they should be just part of a drone. Um, uh, no, there's no way to force close a door. I think the question was basically when an enemy dies and it's in a doorway, it jams the door. And I feel that's like part of the game. It's part of your strategy. Like you need to be thinking about like the safest strategy is always to attack things in corridors, or sorry, in the doorways, because usually you can place a mine there, or you can park a turret, like what was the old Gatling gun upgrade there. Um, and when it's rounding the corner, you kind of take it by surprise, and it can't escape, and so you kill it. But then the detriment of that, or the price you pay, is that you've now lost the ability to close a door, which is really big on a derelict, as you guys know. So the riskier maneuver is to let them in the room and then blow it, right? Or use a trap, or some kind of remotely detonated thing, or whatnot. Or same thing with a ship defense: is wait until you know that it's in there with a sensor, close the door, blow them to hell. And so I feel like it creates a really cool balance in a way. So you can't just willy-nilly do things. So I like the fact that dead things block the doors. It could be that we could create a upgrade or something that would counter that, but I don't. I want to make it that that's a risk-reward scenario. Are there 3D models for the drones? Yes, there are, and maybe we should post them somewhere because D Prime just asked us for them. He just emailed us and said he was going to do this thing, and we thought that was cool as hell. So we just sent him the models, and then he touched them up a little bit. So there are 3D models for the drones, and they're underneath the overlay. Like I said, like there will be glitches that will make it harder to see them, and or make it so that you can see the models underneath, because there's a world underneath the overlays. Yeah. Is there a way to use door room numbers in aliases? So right now you can use a door or room number in an alias. It's just that it's hard-coded. We are going to, again, there's like a million things on our to-do list, but like one of those is to add variables to aliases so that so imagine if in the alias let's just say a simple thing would be is that they would be arguments. So $1 would get replaced with the first argument, and $2 would get replaced by the second argument. So if your alias was open, and which makes no sense. Yeah, but let's just say your alias was O, and O equaled open D $1. So you could type in O space 5, and it would open door 5. So that's what we're hoping. So yeah. So what else? Well, it's already 3:09. Okay, so let me just see if there was anything else that I want to show you guys real quick. Where is the thing? All right, back to the game. Stats I showed you guys. This is a really dumb one. If I add something to a queue, before if I quit out, it would just quit out. Now it says, hey, guess what? There's something in your queue. You sure you want to leave? I think that makes me happy. Oh, here's a big one. Sorry. We're almost out of time here, and I got to get back to doing the whole work thing. But I kind of want to show you guys. Do I have a motion? I do. Check this out. This is blowing my mind because this has been in since the beginning of the game. So navigate 1 through A1. Okay. So he's just going to start moving. And normally, if you type in motion, oh, this is a bad example. Okay. Navigate 1 D19. All right. So he's going to go through, and normally, like I've typed motion already, and I want to type motion when I get in the new room, but I got to wait until he gets to the center. But now I don't. Now if I type in motion, it interrupts the nav command, and it like does the motion. Before it would waste a motion sensor, and you also had to wait for them to get to the center of the room, which wasn't a huge deal, but this is just a little thing. This makes it so that there might be more of a sort of a log pile in the doorway because I'll be using motion like this, but I can also be like nav 1R3. I can still do semicolon motion, and then it'll wait until the navigate is completed. But if I want, I can just be here and just be like, all right, now I want to do motion. So that like makes me really happy. Oh, we didn't have this before. When you swapped with a new drone that was destroyed, when you went to their upgrades, if you'll notice right here, we have the hint or the help text, gather scrap and stuff like that. This will hopefully be good for new players when they're like, it's tough. Like I want them to be like, I don't know what this thing is. I'm gonna grab this thing and see what it does. But I do think this is kind of cool so that like you can be reminded or know what they do, because otherwise you have to go into the help, and some people just really want to know. And the people that don't want to know, they probably won't notice that anyway. Also, clearing commands. You always had to hit escape, and I didn't like it because like people would hit escape twice and they'd end up pausing the game, and that kind of takes you out of the game a little bit. So now Control C, which is like kind of like a Linux thing, like just a shell thing in general. Also down, so if you hit Control up, it'll show you the last command, and then Control up will go to motion, Control down will go to swap, but if you keep going down, then it clears it. Right, so Control down in a way is a way to clear the command line, if that makes any sense. Last thing, I don't know if we have it here. We don't. Okay, I can't show it right now. I'll show it next time maybe. It has to do with the one of the enemies, which is probably a spoiler anyway. But yeah. Whoops. Oh no! I'm showing something that I don't want to show. Exit. Let's see. Looks like I talked for a little bit, so you guys you guys were actually watching, or you fell asleep. There aren't any more questions. So, that's pretty much, I think, I'm not sure when we started, but that's about an hour. If you guys have any last second questions, I can answer them. But that's a quick look at some of the things that we've done in the meantime. There's much more that's in there, but those are just kind of some of the quick sneak peeks at what's going to be coming in the next version of the game, which I'm probably going to... I was going to wait until the beginning of November and try and get all the new ship upgrade stuff and be like, instead of Game of Drones, it would be an update about the ships. But now I'm just kind of thinking maybe we should be pushing things out faster, because when we hold back, it just creates this backlog of things. And also I wanted to get in this like quick little I wanted to do this quick little Halloween update thing that isn't going to be like a huge deal. It's really small, but I just think it would be fun. So I was originally going to post that up and like not tell anybody and see if people noticed, but maybe it makes more sense for me to make like a little to-do about it, throw some of this stuff in. Hopefully it doesn't break everything. Maybe what we'll do is we'll try to push this into the future build. And actually, if you guys can help us out, I love the idea of you guys helping us out with the future build, because I hate to push it to the main default branch and then have problems. Because as you guys might have been able to see on the forums, as soon as we take something from the future and we push it into the default branch, some people inevitably, when there is a lot of people playing, have problems, and then we kind of I'm not going to say waste time, but like it definitely takes us some time out of us pushing the game forward to react quickly to that, because we don't want the core game to be broken. So if any of you guys can jump in on the future branch, and when we push updates, test them out and test the game, even like maybe even the tutorial and the nursery or whatever, but definitely like the new stuff, and let us know if it's broken or not, so that we can be confident when we push it into the default branch that like, okay, this is going to be good. We did the update video. Now we can hit the ground running and add a bunch of much cooler stuff, rather than worrying for 3 or 4 days about like every post that gets put on the forum that might be a bug that we didn't find or something like that. You like the red. It makes slime quite hard to see in your experience. Some of the views, some of the enemies are a lot harder to see. When will this be in the future? I don't know. I think it makes sense to push either... Oh, wow, it's already Friday, isn't it? I guess it probably makes sense to maybe push early in next week, then test out future, and then push it to the main branch the following week, the beginning of the following week, which would mean that would be kind of the week of Halloween, which would be kind of perfect because we want to do a little Halloween thing in there. Yeah, we should I should post the 3D models somewhere so that other people, if they want to, can print them and paint them and then post pictures of that and make me super friggin' jealous, because I want to do that and I probably won't have time. Though, maybe I can do that as a project with Haley. Maybe Haley can help me paint 3D printed drones from my game. That's my daughter. Red colored video feed is actually quite annoying to use. Some people love it, some people hate it. Yeah, I am worried about colorblind people, so that is gonna be something that we might address. Also, because there's a bug in the game in the shaders, like you'll see things completely differently. I don't know if I have an example, and this is really super interesting to me. Let me see if I can find it. Maybe it'd be under QA, maybe it'd be under dev, I don't know. Here it is. Hold on. Okay. Here, check this out. Here, I gotta switch over to it again. Bam. Okay, so check this out. These two drone views are from the same exact drone view, which is crazy. One of them is purple and blue, and one of them is just bloody red. And this is literally on one computer, and this is on a different computer actually, this is even in Unity, if you want to be really crazy. This is in the editor, and this is in the build, the executable. So there is something funky going on in the shader that is causing the colors to go crazy, which is why a lot of you probably see in the game when you play it, everything is white. But actually, we have like what we call an Apple IIe mode that is like kind of like yellowy, grainy, browny kind of thing, and then one that is bluish. And all of that kind of looks the same on my machine when it's an executable, and they all look totally different in my machine when I'm playing it in the editor. So mileage may vary. So just so that you guys know, that's another thing that we got to fix. So even if we wanted to make the colors work better for colorblind people, we couldn't right now, just because we're getting different colors on different builds and different graphic cards and stuff like that. So this is something, again, we have to address, but it's not so pressing that we've attacked it. Would the Halloween thing be like a box you just switch on and off? So actually, this is the nerd that I am. Like, I was just gonna replace some stuff in the game and just push the build out, and then I was like, you know what, some people might not like it, and also some people might be like on a run, like and showing it off, and they might not like the funny little things I put in. So I was like, I want them to be able to turn it off, because we let you do that in a virus named Tom. So yes, we've actually added an off switch for the Halloween stuff. And all of that also means that if, at any point you could turn them back on instead of us being completely in charge of it. But yeah. I want to know what's going on with my stealth. Every time I go into a room with stealth under 50 power, they attack my drone. What probably happened is that they detected you. So if it's a swarm, I'd be careful because you can't just drive through the swarm and not expect them to know where you're at. So once they're alerted to you, and this happens with other guys if you bump into them or you get too close, once they're alerted to you, they don't attack you. But now, if they're alerted to you again, they'll attack you. So basically they kind of have an idea that you're there. They're like, what's going on? Like they're suspicious. And then if they notice you again, then they'll attack. So if you bump into a brute, get away. Because he's going to start like looking around for you. And if he sees you, because he's kind of got your scent in a way, I guess, he's going to mess your crap up. You have to be much more careful with stealth right now. It's a lot less overpowered, hopefully. Can you add the new drones into the Steam avatars? Yes, we can. I totally forgot. I need to post the Steam avatars. I keep forgetting that we have them. We should also make them look a little bit better. French, if you run into them, they can. Oh, right. I've already used the Steam avatars for this way too much. Cool. Are we going to do the Halloween thing we talked about here? Hold on, let's see what this is. What did I talk about? Oh, community events, the drone design contest. That's actually hilarious. The idea that maybe you could dress the drone up for Halloween. Like make a... So, and I'm going to ruin this because we're not adding it in, but I did have the idea. I thought it would be really funny if the drones had like little costumes. If this was like a little... ghost and, you know, or whatever, or you put a little pail here for the candy. I thought about that, but it's one of those things, and this sounds really dumb because it's just a texture, but some of these elements are, because we want to swap them out and stuff like that, and the drone has a lot of parts to it, so it's one of those things where I come up with a dumb idea that's like, oh, it'd be really cool if we reskin like some of these things for Halloween, and then it's like, how much time and effort are we going to put into that versus making the game better? And how many people are actually going to care. And probably the people here are going to care, and that's who I care about. But, you know, it's hard to justify, so at a certain point you got to pull back. And that's why I'm saying this isn't going to be like a virus named Tom with our Christmas skin. That was like, we redid everything, which is really fun. This isn't going to be that. This is literally only going to be a few things. I'm like spoiling things right now. But the drone design contest would be awesome. Actually, that would be really cool. Make your drone, make a costume for your drone. If you guys are willing to do that, I mean, that would be easy. We could just post up some vector files of the outlines, or even people could just draw. They could just draw a sketch or whatever, and we could just do a contest, and whoever wins the contest, maybe they get to add a default name for the drones that's in the game for that build, or even maybe permanently, who knows. Something like that. That could be really fun. I wanted to do the drone design contest for like a for reals drone, right? Like, you know, this thing or whatever. But I think that a Halloween one would be really fun. I'm liking that idea. More Steam avatars. Occasionally you can get away with running through a swarm. Yes, it is tricky. With a stealth, yeah. You've got to kind of time it right. AV&T Christmas for Mac. Don't we have... Did we not... I thought we got that working. Did we not get the DLC working for Mac and Linux? Ugh. You know what would be awesome is if we could do AV&T Vita for Christmas. Oh, I think it's going to be slightly after that. That's like a story that will never end, I think. Jack-o'-lantern drones. Yeah, I do think that's a really cool idea. I think what we're going to do, maybe we'll have a Decorate the Drones contest where, like, we'll give you guys images of the drones, and you can either draw over them, you can sketch on a pencil and paper, or you can make a drone outline. I think that would be really fun. I like that. That just came out of here. All right, you heard it here first. If I don't do that, bother me on the forums about it. Post in that thing and be like, Tim, come on, man. Because I get busy, and I drop the ball all the time. So I'm scattered. Speaking of which, I'm going to get back to work. But I want to thank you guys for coming out and having awesome ideas and checking out some of the new game stuff, some of the new Duskers stuff. I don't know. I guess I will see you guys next time. And I'm trying to do this weekly at 2, but next week I will be at Indiecade. on Friday, so that won't be then. But I'll follow me on Twitter. It's just at @misfitsattic, and I usually tweet out before I go on. And yeah, I'll try and do things more regularly. But thanks for hanging out, guys. I will see you guys next time.